There is a long forbidden strategy in the Fnatic strat book. It's never been used before. It's never needed to have been used before. Even in all of their comebacks, even in all of their wins, we've never had to use this one strategy that was used today at Champions. See, it wasn't Alfier go kill, it wasn't Chronicle go kill, but instead, if you turn the page of the Fnatic strat book, you see it. Boaster, go kill. That's what Boaster did today here after a wonderful win against RRQ. And again, Fnatic have a lot of guys who are the best or very close to the best in their respective roles. Kayak filled in for one of the greatest duelists of all time. He arguably did better than Durka, not just because he's on the international stage, but statistically, Kayak was, at the very least, near Durka's level, if not at it or better. Then obviously Chronicle, Alfier. Crashies, while maybe not the most impactful stat-wise, has some of the best utility in the game. But Boaster is someone who, in the server, you don't think too much about his impact outside of calling. Obviously, he's going to be an elite caller, but outside of that, he'll hopefully hit double digits. Now, there's the whole rehash debate about, IGL's shooting, blah, 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 that gets brought up every time Fnatic lose, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about how Boaster, out of all of the players on this roster, Boaster was the one to step up and save Fnatic from RRQ. Now, I am a couple days late to this, so they did just also beat MIBR, this time without Boaster's help, but there is a question about, if this had gone to Corrode, what happens? Well, Boaster made sure that that would not happen here today. Really quickly, I am a couple subscribers off of 7.5k, so if you like my content, please subscribe, and if you don't like my content, go ahead, subscribe, turn noties on to hate more efficiently, and let's get into it. Now, this is a really interesting bonus round here. RRQ have a very simple game plan of just, we're going to hit B. It's very, very difficult to retake once we're able to get the site, and we think we can get the site with their double initiator. Pretty standard comp. Fnatic are running some wild stuff, by the way. The Waylay Breach has been something that's made a bit of an appearance. Obviously, you saw it if you watched my Demon 1 video, but it's been happening a little bit more, especially overall across champions, and it's very interesting. But I do want to talk about this moment right here. See, he aftershocks thinking that the plant's going to be on this side of the map, because right here, he's spammable. You could spam through the smoke. But RRQ have the guts to say, we know they think we're planting over there, the more kind of default plant position when you don't have complete site control. So we're going to plant open, and it gives them an opportunity later in the round to win this round because of the open plant, and I'll explain in a second here. Now, Chronicle, you can see, he's like, wait, the bomb's there, pings it out for his teammates, but watch this as well. I think this is a situation kind of like Sunset, if you'll know, on the B site, where you're so worried about someone wrapping around, in Sunset's case through market, in Abyss's case through mid, that you have to do something. You have to either put a player or a trip or something because you're scared of being wrapped around mid. That's a possible round losing thing right there if you do get mid wrapped, but on the other side of it, it's also round losing potentially to have to commit a player for as long as you do. Now, just spam, very old-ass, 2023, 2024, pings are still here, spam-esque meta, where everyone's just spamming and doing all this. B is an awful site, just a terrible site. But I said there were two things, actually I'm not sure if I said it here, but there were two things that if they had gone tiny bit differently, RRQ would have won this round. I don't know if I said it in this version of the recording, I may have said it in another one, but the two things are, number one, this blind right here, just a second too late, excuse me, the swing was a second too early. As you'll see, they're fine. They're looking at him, high, but the kill happens, boom, Crash get the kill, and this shock dart right here, he dies for it, but I want you to look at where it lands, if I can pause it correctly. Right here. If it was a tiny bit more, you'll see Fnatic instantly run away here, because they don't know if Boaster has this. They would not have had time to get back on the bomb. That shock dart would have won the round because of the open plant. So RRQ are taking risks like that very early with this more standard double initiator comp, and I do really like it, but Boaster's going to save them. Now, I've been playing more ranked recently, and let me tell you, there are some creatures loose in the queues, but that's why I use Flow State. See, Flow State's an alternative to energy drinks that'll make you lock in without jitters or crashes. You are just headshotting. If you don't believe me, believe pro players on top teams like Envy and Qbert Academy have talked about it working in professional matches. This is the only thing that's scientifically proven to win you ranked games. So do yourself and me a favor by going ahead and going to neuroptima.com, link in the description, getting yourself some flow state, using code LIONS at checkout for 10% off and to support me. Thank you so much for listening, and let's get back into it. Now, yet again, RRQ just decide to rush a site very quickly, just a full-on 5-man rush with no lurks, and you may be, thinking, oh, these guys are stupid, blah, 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 why do you do that? But the reason for this is actually quite smart. So the thing with Abyss is every single site is very difficult to retake. Specifically, B is probably harder than most, but it's one of the most difficult maps to retake on in the entire game. Fnatic are very retake happy. Keep in mind, this isn't just about it being a save stinger round. I'll talk about that in a second. But in a lot of maps, in a lot of rounds, the reason RRQ is 5-man rushing is to get very quickly in a situation where Fnatic has to give up the site. They can't 2v5, and then you have a very high win rate with these retakes, right? You're in a good position if you can be in a 4-on-4 retake on the A site with bomb down. Now here, you're in a 3-on-4, but what ends up happening is, I said Boaster would save you, he does, right here. Gets a kill here, and now he's in a very difficult spot, because Boaster has to kill the guy main and the guy here. Whoever wins this duel wins the round. There is, in my mind, no way that you can win this duel and also not win the round. But Boaster wins the duel out, then boom, now Monyet is forced to try and fight a position that he wouldn't have had to fight. If Boaster died, he could back up, he could chill, they could have played for the bomb. But Boaster, for the first time, but certainly not the last, wins Fnatic the round. I just wanted to shed some light on why RRQ are just kind of running it down before people start saying, oh, Pacific teams, Chinese teams, blah, blah, blah. No, it's actually very intelligent, especially for Abyss. And to be honest, I think that when people saw Boaster's stat line, a lot of people thought it would be kind of, not non-impact frags, but maybe not the most impactful, right? Maybe an exit frag or 2 or 10 in there. But no, these frags have been very, very impactful. Again, Fnatic are keen to retake here, which I'm not too mad about because you have the Sova and obviously Boaster's wall up. You have those ults that you can use to try and retake, as you can see here. Boaster gets scanned, does not get killed, but I love what RRQ do here. They know that Fnatic have those ults, and they know that they've been willing to play retake, so with their KO ult, they don't use it to instantly go into the site. They use it off that Hunter's Fury being used. If you'll notice, a lot of teams, especially if they're running a Cypher site, or running down a Cypher site, like B here, he would just pop it instantly, right? Make Cypher do it, but they did that with just the sheer amount of presence, knowing Fnatic had been very keen to go and opt for retakes instead of fighting and dying on site. So with that, he pops the KO ult, then completely shuts down the Sova ult. After it gets used, it gets a single tag. Now, you're in a position where you have to retake, you're down one of those critical ultimates. Now, especially, you have Alpha on the flank. I talked about mid, which has been largely ignored by RRQ because they've been so keen to do these 5-man rushes, but he's tripped off. You're hoping maybe Cypher dies, you're hoping for some sort of timing, but eventually you just can't take that anymore. But I do want to talk about this because this is absurd. RRQ, right here. Bang, bang, bang. Everyone dies. Beautiful KO flash. Now you are in a 2v5. Alpha's on the flank. You know he's on the flank because of that trip being broken, but I think maybe in the fighting, Crazy Guy wasn't aware. I'm not sure, but the trip, if you'll notice, did get broken right here. I think maybe in the fighting he wasn't aware, maybe it wasn't calmed, but Boaster gets to, with some deceptively good movement here, by the way. I know partly it was a whiff, but he's moving like a gummy worm right over there. Then the Sova dart, I believe, is what got that to, yeah, it was a dart from the dead Crashies, and now Monyet's in a situation where you have to 2v1. Boaster won that round. Right? Alpha got one pick, but Boaster is the one who had to fight on site, die on site. He won that round again with his fragging ability. Not the IGLing, but the fragging ability right there. And again, these are impact frags. Now, it ends in a 7-5, and, Boaster's at the top of the leaderboards. People on Twitter, they're making their little, oh, haha, it's Boaster over Kayak, blah, blah, blah. But it gets even better, or worse, depending on who you're a fan of here. Fnatic are looking to explore mid a lot more than RRQ. RRQ were very, in the rounds I showed, they were very committed to whatever site they were going to go to. They didn't back off. They were very aggressive at what they wanted to do. Obviously, Fnatic isn't like that, right? They're going to play the map. They're going to play time. And you can do that when you have such an experienced IGL like Boaster. At first, they start off towards a little B lean, acting like, okay, we're going to go towards B. Boaster gets inserted over towards A here, sees what's up. But this initial B fight and the B look, as you can see, there are 4 people over here. They're not too big of fans of it. Crashies goes over here. There's a nice little breach flash that ends up almost killing Jemkin, as you'll see here, but he survives on 12 HP. But Kayak gets in here, and after getting the first kill, he's actually traded out. Then they decide, all right, let's back off here. Let's, get out. Boaster was over towards A. We're going to reinsert him in A main. And the only issue now is that because Fnatic showed so much pressure on B, and obviously Crashies just died, they think there's no way someone's still anchoring A. No possible way that Cypher would still be here a minute after, they've started going towards B. But he is. Gets the kill on the Chronicle, and now you're in another situation where it's Alpha and Boaster in a clutch scenario. 2v5, 2v4. It's 2v4 this time. But 2v4, bang. Instantly, Boaster gets both. He's able to kill someone that was back here as well, killing Crazy Guy, then takes a 1v1 on a timing. That is not a fight that you're normally thinking that Boaster's taking. He's not a guy who in the 2v2 you expect to peek out, right? He's going to play with his team. He's going to play discipline. Not there. No, he will fight Cushy off that timing. Gets a little, that was more of an info peek, but you could tell there was some motion behind that after he got his 3k, and now he plays discipline, plays with his teammate. No, he's just going to swing out and kill Munyet, do his little TikTok/K-pop dance. Oh, not this time, actually. No, that was for one of the other rounds. But Boaster did an electric job here. Let's look at one more round, though. Now, this is the last round we're going to take a look at here, but obviously, I've rehashed this so many times. Don't lurk with a gun on your anti-ecos. We've talked about this, whatever. It's just a Marshall, but I think the caster pointed out as well that it can be super dangerous, and I had someone asking me what they meant by, why would a Marshall be dangerous? They all have shield. Well, it's because of the economy damage, that even if, a Marshall body shot, or, heaven forbid, a Marshall headshot, but a Marshall body shot is going to do a lot of damage. You're going to have to rebuy a shield. It's just generally annoying. And also, you don't want to give up your guns. That's not a great thing. But Fnatic here at an interesting spot because Munyet is still alive. He's able to smoke them off. They don't want to play, post plant and risk giving giving RRQ an easy defuse, if the spam doesn't go their way. So they play on site here. They play in a weird crossfire-esque setup, but Kayak is taking first contact. Kayak then, because of this blind, ends up dying. A lot of them end up dying from the blind. And now Boaster, well, he has a ghost, right? Why would he have a gun? It's Boaster. But he's still able to clutch the round. 2v1 here. Such a pivotal round for the economy. Such a pivotal round for momentum. Waits to get the gun. And then here come the TikTok and K-pop emos. But Fnatic, by the way, went on to not lose a single attack round at all. Period. What a wonderful job from them and obviously from Boaster here. I am kind of intrigued by some of the Waylay breach stuff I've been seeing coming out. I don't want to say I'm a full believer yet, but I've been very intrigued for sure. Now, that's going to be all from me today. Make sure to subscribe so I can hit 7.5K. Go ahead and click on one of these two videos if you like my content. Make sure to give some flow state with the link below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.